So we're just going to give it just a couple of seconds. And I'm assuming now everyone can see us and hear us. Welcome everyone to episode 5 of the Level Up Your Wealth 5. We reached number 5, Level Up Your Wealth podcast, powered by the gamers at Tomes Financial. Again, you can go to the bit.ly/level up your wealth to see all the amazing information there, including booking a no-cost consultation with our co-host, Mario Williams. I'm one of your co-hosts, Marcus Howard. Mario, please introduce yourself.
Yeah. So Mario Payne here in beautiful, hot Jacksonville, Florida. Just glad to be here. Halfway throughout the year, the stock market continues to go up. Had a bad day today, but actually the Dow Jones, 13 straight days of it going up. First time since 1987. So for these people that's pessimistic about investing, let's invest. You'll make money over time. And then you can buy a book from Dr. Gray.
I love that segue though. Hello, everyone. I'm Kishonna Gray, Associate Professor at the University of Kentucky. I'm glad to be here, y'all. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you for joining. We were just having a conversation last week, Mario and I, about how you and I connected, Dr. Gray, and it was happenstance. It was either just odd or providence, right? We happen to have a pivot in the esports work I was doing at University of Kentucky, and then I was introduced to you, and everything else was just amazing after that.
What's really wild is that you were like this living legend, right? So you were like the guy that I always heard about, the Marcus Esports, Marcus Howard. I'm like, who is this guy? Because then and I felt like I wasn't in the know. I'm like, well, if everybody thinks he's so wonderful, I need to meet him, right? And so it was and then I think COVID happened. So I think that also, disrupted like a lot of connections, a lot of our conferencing and hanging out and stuff like didn't happen. So I think in the normal, natural world, we would have met eventually at some of these esports spaces, but we didn't. Right. And then I got the job at UK. You're connected with some folks there at UK. And then so the universe just brought us together anyway. So I'm like, okay, look how dope this is. I love it. Yeah.
And then we got to bring video games into the class, right? Which was awesome.
Let's go. It's awesome. I love it. What I really like about, like your work, first off, I already knew you had like a really dope, cool platform. And I also just like the conversations that you're propelling forward. I like that you're like a provocateur. You may or may not use that word. Hopefully listen, there's all love, all respect.
It's all love.
It's like, you're like, he's like a provocateur. I'm like, okay, what Marcus say today? Well, Marcus said that he gonna make somebody mad today. And I'm like, I'm here for it. I love it.
Cheers.
So what you're saying is, if it's ever a gamer's reality show, Marcus has to be casted in it, I guess, right?
He's gonna be the whole villain. Listen, he's gonna be the whole villain. But listen, I'm here for it. I'm like, what has he said today? What has he done today? But what I really like is that, you are the person in the room that makes us think about things like in ways that we should. Like we need to be thinking about these things differently. And so I just keep doing what you're doing. You got a dope platform. Please don't stop. Wait for anybody. Like I'm here for it all. I love it. And then my students, I really, low key, it was, really like selfish. I'm like, if I have access to a person like this with all this platform, this caliber, I'm like, I want him to be introduced to my students. So, we had like these weekly like engagements with students where you're introducing them to, these like amazing, I guess I'm not sure if that's where we're going, but I would like to talk about that, just like a bit. So I really loved, because a lot of students like today, they talk about, how they have all these academic skills, but they don't know how to translate that into anything that's legible, like in the industry, right? They're like, okay, I took all these classes, but now what? Well, I can't put that on my resume. And so they're coming out of school and they don't really have like the skills that maybe a lot of these employers like want. So what I loved about what you did in the classroom, you helped us like do like that. You gave them that real world experience. They got the experience, and then they got connected with industry people. Like your network is huge. You brought these people in, and I'm like, I don't think the students realize how dope that experience was. I think that's the saddest part. They don't realize how amazing it was to meet all these people like that you knew. So thank you for that, Marcus. I just want to shout you out for doing that for our class.
Yeah. And shout out to Stuart for co-teaching the class as well. Brought a ton of amazing insights and that real world experience for them as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's actually talk about that. So since you are the gamer of all gamers from a professor standpoint, Where do you see video games in classrooms? Like, so like growing up, of course, when I was growing up, it wasn't no cell phones in class, nevertheless video games, but you hear like we had TV One, if y'all remember TV
I remember
One.
TV One again. Oh
Oh
my God.
man. we had TV One. That was our yes, we get to watch TV for 3.5 minutes before the announcements. Now
Right?
times
You remember
have
they always
totally
had like an
changed.
episode of Fat Albert. I don't know why like Fat Albert.
It's a classic.
So yeah, so times have definitely changed. But as a professor in a college setting, what do you see video games, and how do you think video games can actually help children learn more, study more, hopefully, and just kind of be engaged from an education standpoint?
Yeah. I think I'm one of those people that I'm always intrigued by the conversations that people aren't having, right? So or maybe what they are having. So I don't want to say like I don't play devil's advocate because I hate those kind of people. But you know how like people were all like games are bad, games are violent, games are this. I'm like, well, let me show you what else they can do, you know? So I was really interested in just kind of translating and making like retelling like a story like around gaming, reframing a narrative like around gaming, especially like in an academic context. Because also like in academia, people don't really care about gaming scholarship. They really like my colleagues are like, well, we know you do something cool. We have no idea what it is, but keep doing what you do. You know, it's not like what people might consider like serious scholarship or anything, right? So I mean that's good and bad because people just leave me alone. I'm over here like in my lane doing what I do. But what I've also been able to do is just like really build this huge platform. And then people are like, wait a minute, well, this is kind of serious. Wait, games do make all this money. You know, the money thing is like the piece. And I learned that also too from Marcus. You know, he was like, you got to make, if you want people to care, talk about the money aspect, the economical like aspect of it. And then people will start to listen. And so that's why I was like, well, okay, it's a $1 billion industry. I'm thinking about some slides you had one time. I saw one of your presentations and, you know, you led with that. You know, that was like the thing that hooked, you know, and grabbed people in. And so that's where I started. I'm like, you know, nobody cares about your little films, these little obscure films. I'm like, I'm sorry. They just don't. Like, people care about these video games. And I just wanted to, you know, I wanted to show value, especially with the generations. I might be, how old are y'all? Y'all said that y'all ain't got to say it publicly for your auntie.
37.
Not 41. 40's a new 30, baby. I'm good at 41 with the gray speckles.
Come
With the
on,
gray
Grace Speckles. Come on now.
You still got your hair.
Oh, I love it. But like we're like that generation, you know, we were like, you know, the generation, I don't know. Well, I feel like we may have been like the last generation of where we didn't have to hide our gaming, but nobody really cared about what we were doing. But these younger generations, you know, they have leveraged these things to create careers and become influencers. And I feel like we're the generation that enabled them like to do that, you know, because we were the ones that were like, these Nintendos are cool, Sega's cool, Dreamcast is cool, you know, like that's like the generation that we were and I want to make sure that our generation doesn't get forgotten. You know, people talk about us and they say like we're old and so I'm like, we showed y'all how to do all this. You know, we are the ones that created the things that you're having fun with now. Like our generation did that. So I really just want to make sure that people, you know, just recognize that as older millennials or, you know, Gen X, whatever you want to call us or whatever, to let them know that, hey, we had to deal with that negative framing of gaming a whole lot. You know, we had to deal with the negative, even the social media, AIM, AOL, Instant Messenger, Black Planet, MySpace. You know, we were like the generations that were like, we were doing all these cool, innovative things, but then we got disparaged for all of it. We're the Napster, LimeWire generation. We're like, look at them, they're stealing all this money. You damn right we are.
Yeah.
Come on, Dreamcast. But I feel like our generation is like that one that where we had to provide like that bridge between like that older generation and like the younger generation. You know, we're the ones that have to say, you know, don't disparage these kids for their music. You know, you remember what it was, you know, I feel like we're just like that kind of like bridge. At least I like to envision that. I see us as that, you know, maybe I could be wrong, but yeah, I think that's us. I probably didn't answer your question at all, but it's
And that's okay.
No. This is great. And actually, talk about Dreamcast. So I see a MD Lockridge. I still got my Dreamcast. If anybody knows a person who did a documentary about the rise and fall of Dreamcast, please let us know because I would love to have him or her on the pod because I think that's an amazing story.
We need that actually. There's so much. Think about all the lost technology, all that innovative technology, especially like like 90s, early 2000s. Like there was some really dope things that came and went. Listen. I'm sitting in my grandma's outhouse, the Power Pad, the Nintendo Power Pad, and then the glove, like that. It broke. It didn't work half the time. But
Yeah.
think about how cool and innovative that was. That's why I get mad when these folks, they're like, oh, look at this cool technology. I'm like, we had that already. We had that
Yeah.
before. VR headsets, we had that,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
nothing new. It just
Yeah.
wasn't that great back then, but we
Yeah.
gave them like the template, to go and be better and to like make it better. So like we can't let them sleep on us, y'all. Can't let them
Yeah.
do it.
It's like half the time it didn't work, but so question. I know you kind of pin the frames like online environments and having a positive online environment from a gaming standpoint, especially as a professor. Like, how can you make sure that when people game, they're being positive, and how can you, or is it
Yeah.
a way that you can basically stop the negative gamers kind of being to
Yeah.
the forefront compared to the positive ones?
Yeah. That's an interesting question. I think I've had to start to frame my thinking and my thoughts around those kind of interactions as like I prefer to refer to it as pro social gaming.
Mm.
Um as a because like I'm gonna tell you why. So I get into a lot of arguments online, right? I don't consider myself like a toxic person. But
However,
so I'm from the generation of trash talk. We not like I'm from that generation, but like a lot of people would like frame like that trash talk in like negative ways. But this trash talk, and a lot of it's rooted in like a lot of black culture too, like the dozens, roasting culture, that's
Yeah.
just like some stuff that we do. And then translate that to then an online environment. And then all of a sudden, here we are, we're demonized for making spaces toxic. And in my
Mm.
mind, I'm like, we need some more conversations around this. We need some framing around this because here you have this collapsing of cultures, these collapsing of like, these artificial barriers. And here, we have all converged into this space collectively and together. Whereas, our private spaces used to be private and it was just us. But online environments kind of pushed us all together. So we had to quickly learn how to engage and interact with one another. We haven't done that very well, right? And so what I think that has happened, what is that so for instance, like a lot of people, we get punished a lot in online environments because the
Yeah.
trash talking seems so aggressive and extra, and then
Yeah.
people want to like assume that that's toxic. I'm like, I'm sorry you didn't grow up in the dozens, I'm sorry you didn't grow up with roasting culture, but that's actually not a harm. So I remember I had like a consulting gig where this company wanted me to look at this like interaction to say, Dr. Gray, is this racist? So basically, it was like black dudes using the N word a lot, really
Yeah.
aggressive energy. I'm like, no, they're having a great time.
That's right, though. That's right.
Right. I'm like, but they wanted to make sure that they weren't racializing the interaction and saying, hey,
Mm.
there's something here about these cultures that we don't understand. And I'm
Yeah.
glad that they wanted to make sure before they just ban these guys, because there was a time where there was like zero tolerance for like the N-word, and they were
Yeah.
unfairly targeting, black folks, who use this in like their everyday speech and communication practices,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, you gotta understand like how cultures and stuff like, like work inside these spaces. I was like, and so I think we've gotten like a lot better. But this was like the early moderation days, when
Yeah.
games went online and there was just like the Wild West for like a long time. But I think we've gotten like a lot better, like with moderation, that people are like, okay, that's trash talking. Okay, that's toxic. That's sexist. That's racist. That, so they've actually gotten pretty savvy at differentiating, like what's what.
unlike
So hopefully,
Call of
like,
Duty.
yeah. Call of Duty is just successful. Absolutely.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, that's it. So Dr. Tom, what's going on? Thirsty Minds, hello to you too. And MD Locker said it best. Folks forget about hip hop, freestyle battles, alternative to physical violence. New generation, they do need more mental training. That's definitely true. So talk about training. I know controversial as you are, toxic Dr. Gray. What is cyber feminism? Because feminism is like It's a buzzword, right? Especially here in Florida, it's a buzzword. So, what is cyber feminism?
So I'm glad you asked that question. So I remember being in grad school. I can't remember when it was, but I remember early 2000s. I was reading something maybe for a class, and I came across this article. It's called Cyber Feminism, and basically this article said in the future or some imagined future or imagined place, there's going to be a time where we no longer need these bodies, like our bodies aren't going to matter, and that we can just forego them, and then so our gender, our race, like these things will never, they won't matter, and then we can just kind of exist in this space of where we're all the same. Now I read it and I was like, what in the all lives matter is this? It didn't it didn't resonate with me. It wasn't given, right? Because like in my mind, I and I had to understand the context in which it was written. This was also written by a feminist, a white feminist who had been in the space of oh yeah, absolutely. MD Lockridge's, comment right there. Absolutely. It was written in a space of where there are certain oppressed bodies that wanted to be like the privileged bodies. So instead of
Mm.
dismantling oppression and dismantling power, they just wanted to replicate that. They said, well, we see this group of people in power and we want that, right? So it kind of said, it was also like some of the feminism of like the 80s and like 90s, where it took like a conservative turn, like corporate feminism, that lean in feminism, of like, we're going to be one of the boys, we're good old boys network. We're just going to get in and get along with them. And then eventually they'll let us have a turn. Like, so that's kind of like what it sounded like. Right. And so it didn't really jive with me, because at the time I was also reading like a lot of Black feminism, and I was like, oh, this is dope. It was very communal. It was very supportive. It had a class context. It was like, hey, poverty is the cause of a lot of these things, right? It talked about colonialism and decolonizing like our practices. And I was like, oh, I like that. And so in my mind, I was like, well, what if I had maybe cyber feminism? Because it had some cool elements. I don't want to say that it didn't. I like the idea of that our bodies won't matter at some point. But then I was like, maybe if I could bring them together and have them talking to one another, then what might that look like? And so I came up with this concept of Black cyber feminism, where I reckon, and this was also during the time of, blogs were really popping. There was a lot of, cool stuff being written in blogs. There was a lot of, folks were using social media in really cool ways. So this was like a precursor to like even the movement for Black Lives. But you see like a lot of things like happening cool like that on Twitter. I don't even know what to call that space anymore. Do I say Twitter?
It's X now. It's X.
Is that what I do?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say.
That's how you tweet. You just keep doing this at the screen until it
I don't even know what to do. It's such a wild space in there now. I have no idea what to do. But then I was thinking, I was like, what might these women have said about internet technologies? What might these dope Black queer women have said about social media or information technologies? What kinds of conversations might they be having? And I thought, I looked at how we use it to kind of tell different stories, storytelling. We don't want to replicate oppressive practices. We don't want to be like the ones in power. We actually want to dismantle it. We want to, I actually have like a couple cool examples, actually kind of will solidify what I think Black cyber feminism is. Did you all watch Lovecraft Country?
Was that a horror movie?
All right.
I'm about to disconnect right now.
Oh no. Don't log off, man. Don't log off.
Somebody in the chat, please. Somebody in this room has had to watch Lovecraft Country.
I've heard of it. I've heard of it.
Everybody ass in here. I'm like, okay.
All right. Yeah.
All right. So, okay, in Lovecraft Country, it's a TV show, HBO Max. Jonathan Majors is in it. Journey Smollett, she's in it. So it's really interesting. It takes place back in like Jim Crow, like kind of like Jim Crow era. But it has like some sci-fi fantasy elements to it. So it's really cool. It's different. It's kind of cool. It's okay. That's why I ain't even mad. They said they took y'all tardy to the party. That's okay. But there's a character in there. Her name is Hippolyta. Hippolytta maybe. And so she's like the mother, and so she gets access to this portal that transports her to like different moments in the world. She's just able to go back in the past, she's able to go to the future, and so she just amasses all this power and this energy, and she's just like this dope goddess being in the world. And so she, in this moment where she has all the power, the thing that she decides to do that I think is so dope, some people might not, but I think it's dope, is that she recognized that her child needed help and support. And so she decides to come back to the earth realm like that we're in now, and to take care of her child because her child needs her. Now she did some other cool things in there, but I was like, oh my gosh, that's like really beautiful. Now, okay, put a pin in that one. The other example that I have, that I'm trying to have them talk to one another. So there is, I lived in Chicago for a little while. And so kids were trying to play Pokemon Go. So I worked with this group on the South Side in Inglewood. And so, it's no secret, there's high rates of violence there, a lot of street violence, and so sometimes things aren't safe, right? And so there's this group called Mask, Mothers and Men Against Senseless Killing, where they basically would occupy street corners to just make sure that kids are safe walking from like one block to the other, making sure that kids are safe from going from the store to the park, back to the library. And so basically they created like the infrastructure, like there was a physical infrastructure that they enabled so these kids could play Pokemon Go and just kind of walk in their area in their neighborhood just to play this game. Now, so these two examples are basically what Black cyber feminism is, right? So we have the technology, we have the infrastructure, and so, but in between like the physical space and then the digital space, I'm looking at the hybrid that's being created. And I feel like that there's so much to be said. So in my mind, these are the two examples that are helping me think about like the Black cyber feminism. And I got to write the book. So those are like examples that like I'm latching onto. But I need y'all to watch Lovecraft Country now. So Marcus, we're not friends until you watch that. Y'all help me.
If it makes you feel any better, I have this dope book. I need to send actually both of you a copy. I might have got this after we were teaching in your class. Keisha's Demon Eater. It's like Naruto, right? Like anime.
Oh, that looks beautiful.
Yeah.
But
what is that?
and it's from a Black-owned comic book company called it's on the back, Dream Fury. And so basically, this young woman gets possessed by a demon, and something happens. I won't spoil the story, but she has to go move in with her aunt who lives in the country. And so when you're talking about Lovecraft Country, like this is that, except like she ends up like taking no names and kicking all ass.
Can you send me a link? Send me a link to that.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. Both of you.
Yeah. Actually, if you put the link in the chat, too, they can check it out.
Yeah, let me do that. I'm gonna mute. So y'all can talk, but I'm gonna post a link in the chat so everybody who's watching can get that link as well.
Do I have access to like talk to people like in the chat?
Not here. It's weird. If you were on LinkedIn, yes, but not here. You can see them. You can acknowledge them. They can hear you, but you can't.
Should I open up LinkedIn?
You can. Yeah, you might want to mute that tab because it's.
Because it's gonna be loud. Okay, I should have done that.
I'm doing that right now, though. I'm doing that too. I have LinkedIn on another tab, and I have the site muted so I can, because I'm not getting all the messages here.
Okay.
So you're welcome to do that, but I will post that in the chat so everybody has it. We need to bring Newton. His name is Newton Lilleboy. He lives in Louisiana. He's from Louisiana. We might bring him in on a podcast. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So question, because I am a certified financial planner. So anytime stock related, I have to ask. So I always kind of hit and miss when it comes to stocks and bring them up. So I know you talked about transhumanism. It's a company that's actually trying to like create that, like clone people, clone your thoughts, and kind of create that. Did you know that?
I'm not shocked.
Yeah, you're not. All right, so I'm pull up.
I'm not shocked. I'm sure that they have successfully done it already.
Well, they're in trial. So the name of them is called CRISPR, as y'all can see, right? So they came out in 2017. When their stock came out, it was that. Huh?
What do their stocks look like? Since you're talking about stocks and stuff.
You see it was just the chart. So they're new though, right? So we think about like new thought process. We kind of make it new. So that they came out in 2017 or 2016. So when they first came out, they were trying to basically clone animals. And then when they talked about cloning animals, as we'll kind of show you, right, their stock. Oh, come on, Mr. Stock. their stock, kind of skied up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it went up by literally 2,000%. So like a person bought it in 2016 at their height, February 2021, that's a 2,000% return. So if I got let's say $1,000, I'll go from 1,000 to $220,000 in 5 years. Like that's unheard of. That's like a lifetime's worth of making money in the stock market that they made in 5 years. But then it came out that it's not that ethical to clone people, especially when they started saying that they was going to do trials of cloning humans. Like, cloning mice and like the thought process about cloning animals is one thing. So when that happened, as we can see, hopefully we can see, is that they're basically stock, started to tank. So again, it was up like crazy. And then as we look now from its high, it went down by like 80%. So if I invested at its high, if I put in say $1,000, literally over a year and a half time period, my $1,000 went to 200. So the more that story,
when did the drop happen? I'm sorry, my bad.
yeah, it happened from February 2021, and like they have not recovered. Like they're still down. Like they're up a little bit, but it's probably like I don't know if it's ever going to recover. Like I don't, because like yes, the thought process of cloning and kind of helping, it seems cool, but like the ethical part, like the world that we're not ready for, right? So like transhuman and just when it's a thought process is like, oh, that'd be cool, but like the world is not ready for that. So I digress. But anyway, so CRISPR, if y'all into that crazy stuff, check them out. Is the stock is low right now, so if it ever goes back up, you're gonna make a bag, or you're gonna have something that keeps on going down. Who knows? Who knows? So yeah. So tell us about the book. Tell us about the book, please, Mrs. Dr. Grave.
So my last book, Intersectional Tech, I loved it. I loved writing that book, right? Because it was like a culmination of 10 years of research, basically. So I had been doing like all this research. So it started with my dissertation work, so I did my PhD at Arizona State. So I finished that in 2011. And I feel like whenever I did my dissertation, my dissertation was just like a snapshot, right? It wasn't telling like a whole story. I was like, I don't have a complete story here yet, but I had to get a job. I had to start publishing. I had to put stuff out. So, I'm publishing an article, publishing this, publishing that. But even still, all of those articles, they're incomplete. I'm talking about, the experiences of like women inside online gaming, talking about, what Black gamers are like going through. I'm talking, I'm doing all that stuff, but I'm like, it's still not a complete picture. So the book really allowed me to kind of give like this holistic overview, to talk about Black culture and gaming broadly, right? To talk about the amazing contributions of Black gamers, to the culture, right? There are some, it also let me talk about the technology, because I'm big about like the technology piece. I was able to kind of show like this overview, from, what the technology looked like, with the, from the big black buddy. I'm not sure if anybody remembers like the original Xbox, and then,
big ass remote controls.
it's huge. It's huge. I was able to talk about the Connect a lot. Like the Connect was fascinating to me. The Connect was just so cool. I remember when it came out, and I was fascinated by this idea that your body would be the controller.
Yeah.
But then, when we found out a lot of us couldn't play it because it was low key racist, because we wouldn't see darker skin. And I was like, what is happening here? Like, did nobody think where are the beta testers? Where are the QA? They weren't in the room. Weren't in the room. They didn't test it on darker skin folks. They didn't test it on bigger bodies. I'm a person that has a bigger body. It couldn't read my body because it was used to like a thin, light skinned body, right? And I didn't anticipate that would be like an anchoring point, like in the book, but I had to talk about it. I'm like, yes, it's accessible. Yes, it's going to allow a lot of people to interact and engage like with games differently. Yes, it should transform gaming and what we think about gaming, but it's also kind of racist. And what I loved about that was that allowed me to kind of tell some because nobody, like I said earlier, nobody pays attention to gaming. If we had paid more attention to the gaming space, we would have been able to foresee some conversations that happen later, especially around, this, facial recognition technology and how problematic that is. How, you have, these entire systems of surveillance, being deployed inside these cities, and they can't tell Jerome from Jamal. They can't tell Muhammad from Abdul. They can't tell Jose from, Rico. They can't tell the difference because it's just not a lot of testing behind it on this range of like folks. Now, am I advocating for more of us to be tested on so they can see us and arrest us? But I don't want that either. I really like, I'm anti everything. I'm like, just disband it all, dismantle it all, let's get rid of it all, But I just thought it was really interesting that here we in gaming, the gaming space, the Connect showed us how problematic these recognition technologies were going to be, that they weren't going to be able to do communities of color like justice, like at all. So, I was able to talk a little bit about that, inside the book. I'm looking forward, to writing like the next book. I just have to find some time and energy to do that. But I'm wanting to write this book called Black Game Studies, because I feel like when it comes to play and recreation and leisure, those have been things that I think traditional people think that Black folks haven't been able to take part in those things, right? A lot of people think that, like Black play and leisure, like that's a new thing that we've been working and just slaving all these years. I'm like, okay, we have, but that's not the only story of, Blackness. Like, I remember I've been doing some reading of some really cool books. And one of the things that I uncovered that I thought was really cool was like, even on plantations, some plantations allowed days off. And then this is where, like, these enslaved folks had moments to like go and interact and engage and dance and or worship, whatever they were doing. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Look at those. So I've been trying to find these nodes of like leisure and play and recreation, especially for Black communities. And like, so just really seeing and uncovering like a lot of those histories. I just want to show that like in this book. That another thing that I thought was interesting, I was reading this book. I'm so sorry, I'm missing all the names of these books right now. But I was reading a book and it talked about one of the earliest games that enslaved children would play. Basically, enslaved children would replicate what they were seeing on the plantation. And so one of the games was the auction block. So they would replicate buying and selling. And I've been trying to make sense of this. I know like the author was, kind of indicating that, a lot of times they were just replicating what they saw. But in my mind, I'm like, it may have been like a survival tactic to say, hey, we got to prep these young folks and these kids for what they might eventually see being sold down the river, being separated, understanding in some simple way these complex systems that were around them that, I mean, because how do you explain the institution of slavery like to children? Like when you're in it, how do you explain it? So I feel like that a lot of these play practices like became that. So, I want to highlight that and like talk about those kinds of things like in the book. Hopefully now Lindsay Grace, I always have to say this because if people Google Black Game Studies, Professor Lindsay Grace, he has a book called Black Game Studies. Now, it wasn't always Black Game Studies. I want to make sure to make that clear. When he first was doing that book, it was called Black Game Makers. So he was talking about like the developers and makers and, a lot of the cool thinkers behind that. So, people are like, well, Kishonna, you got to change the name of your book. I was like, I'm not changing the name of my book like at all. Like I'm doing Black
You had it first.
But I don't want him to think that, there's no shade. If he ever sees this, if y'all clip this part, all respect to you, Professor Grace, but I'm not changing the name of my book.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. That's funny. So, quick question. So, we talked about Microsoft Connect. It was a great idea. The rollout made that good. Do you think like that was a successful launch, or you think it being a done?
You said so. I want to make sure I heard you. Okay, it was a little bit choppy on my end. You said, "Do I feel like it was a successful?"
Yeah. So Natalie said, "Don't change anything."
Yes, ma'am. I won't. Yes, ma'am.
That's funny. Now, so when it comes to Microsoft Connect, do you think like the rollout was a success, or you think it was a dud?
There's a lot of missteps with these companies.
Yeah.
I think there have been so many missteps with Microsoft, like historically. They keep getting in their own way, you know? But I also feel like that also lets me know that gaming is not primary for them, right? That's not their bread and butter. That's not the thing that makes them money, right? So it's kind of like that little the kid that they don't really pay much attention to, but every now and again that kid does something cool and innovative, and then they highlight it, right? But I think even with the acquisition, that the mergers, all the missteps with like the mergers, and then the emails that like the emails where they were like, we're just trying to take Sony down or whatever that was. That was like, I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
You know, people are gonna see this, right?
We see this.
So
go ahead.
So again, now keep on talking. But yeah, like as you talk about like the missteps, like so not only was it a misstep in perception, but in reality, as you can see, the Kinect launched. After it launched, 9 months later, Microsoft stock went down 28%. So it was a huge marketing toy, marketing ploy that it was going to be the greatest thing. You can play games right in front of you. You could work out. They had the videos where he was exercising. He was playing tennis. He was playing basketball. But it was a dud. And I think some of those reasons were because the people that did the beta testing, the product testing, they wasn't all of color. They was all shapes and sizes. And I think when they was going through that process, they didn't realize that. So yeah, it was a dud. It was a DUD dud.
Yeah. I believe that. What could have changed? What could have changed it? Was it too? And in my mind, especially when I think about technologies, I feel like it was too much too soon. We weren't ready. Because you all remember when PlayStation put Blu-ray, and I'm like, don't nobody got no Blu-ray. Why y'all do that? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe they're trying to be too innovative too soon and not really thinking about, okay, who is the market actually and what do they actually have? So I feel like maybe the Kinect was just too soon. We weren't ready. We weren't ready for it.
And that brings us back like to basically a couple of years ago with Facebook, Meta, Facebook, and Oculus. Like, that the Oculus rollout was amazing, but then when you put the set on, it's like, this is it. Like, so you think like that's too soon? What Meta and Oculus is doing right now?
So I think the market operates in one arena. That's how. Now, this is y'all's arena. This is not my lane, right? So tell me if I'm misspeaking and if I ain't got it right. Yeah. So the market operates here, right? Market and advertising, but the actual research and development, that's down here, and they're having like a different conversation. So I imagine in the room, somebody was like, "Oh, I want one of those cool headsets. Somebody go and make it for me." And then they're trying to hurry up and do it, to appease what these marketing, numbers folks said. I think we've got these projected numbers and these projected sales. But then the folks down here in R&D are like, "No, our audience really doesn't like that. Our core audience, they don't engage like that." And then they're not speaking and they're not talking to one another. Now, I could be completely off base, but I feel like the left hand don't know what the right hand doing a lot of times in these companies.
Yeah. That's good. I think from a Facebook standpoint, I know because we had the Oculus 1 and 2, and I remember. My wife's, he works for NASA, so he was able to get it to us free, and we weren't paying all that money to get it, but we got it for free. So during Christmas, for like a day and a half, my daughter played it, and like, was okay, I'm done. And then went on her own thing, her phone playing Roblox, Minecraft, and everything else. So I think it's like it seems cool, but I think the utility is not there yet.
It's ironic you say that because I think they Facebook and Meta just announced they have a Roblox integration. They just announced that a couple of weeks ago. So we'll see if that changes the tides, but it's just ironic you mentioned that game. Like they the same thing you just said.
Yeah. And so we talk about Blu-ray. So Christopher was like, Sony Blu-ray beat Microsoft HD disc because of the compression of data. There you go.
Okay. So and was that like, I can imagine the same conversation happened with like, wasn't it like 8-track and Betamax?
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
those. And then, eventually everything is about data, I'm sure. Vinyls, could only hold so much. And then, then tapes come along and then they could only hold so much. And then CDs came, and
Yeah.
um I'm concerned though, like this streaming where we don't own anything, that really
Mm.
concerns me.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know, I don't want to sound like one of them old people, like I'm sounding old.
Back in my day.
We owned our music back in my day, like I don't want to sound like that, but it's really like concerning. Especially with the writer's strike that was happening, and I saw that thread of where folks were like, "Hey, if this stuff is not streaming, we don't get royalties, we don't get paid, we don't get like anything." And then like
Mm.
here, things that we think are important, they don't feel like they need to archive, and it's not saved, and we don't have access to it anymore. So I guess I'm just concerned about that. Yeah, some more good comments in the chat. I'll give it back to you, Mario.
So Aziza, what's your name? Right? Aziza. Because VR is hard to develop a game for people because you have to count for vertigo. If I had first had vertigo in VR, that had to be tough.
Is that me? Am
No,
I?
we lost him a little bit.
Are you okay?
Yeah, that's the vertigo right there. It was you got the vertigo right there.
Right.
You glitched the matrix.
Yeah. Yes, Serena said you have to account for vertigo. That's definitely true.
She's right.
Definitely true. Definitely true. So where do you see gaming, right? So of course, we have a chat. So then you, I don't know who he or she is, said Russian to beat competition for Apple and other VR headset providers. So where do you see gaming going forward? Do you think it's going to be, just how it is now, like on PC, where people look at AR, what Apple is doing as like the new internet, where you're actually inside of the internet, which is pretty cool. You got Zuckerberg. Half the time he's doing jujitsu. The second half he's trying to, do the metaverse, right? So who knows how that's going to happen? But what do you see gaming going forward?
Yeah, folks might not like my answer to this, right? We may. Okay, now I don't mind being wrong. What you say?
Set it up.
You know, right? Yeah. I feel like if something doesn't change in the industry, it may have already peaked and we may have seen the extent of the innovations already. And what we might continue to see is just a rehashing of things. I felt that with the metaverse.
Okay.
Second Life was cool and innovative. I'm like, there was some remnants of replicating Second Life with metaverse, right? Yeah. And so I feel like that maybe it's the people who are in charge. I know that there's also, now I don't know any of the risk averse, the actual, all that kind of language of like they want to do the safe thing and they don't want, because they're scared to lose money. They don't lose money. When they look at things like the Connect, they're like, oh, that lost money. When they look at, I'm even thinking about, you remember that there was that video game where they said it flopped because there was a Black woman as a protagonist, which was just garbage. That just wasn't, do you remember? I can't remember what the name of that game was.
I remember what you talk. I know what you're talking about. I can't remember. Aziza, do you know? Aziza's playing all the
games. If anybody in the chat knows what that game was, it was just not too long ago.
It was like less than a year ago, maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. But then I think that the market is looking for ways to kind of hone in expenses and control for losses. So they're gonna just continue to give us the things that looks like what already exists. That's why we have so many Call of Duties. They're like, oh, that makes money. Let's just keep doing that. That's why we get in the sports games. I don't know how y'all let the industry trick y'all into buying a new Madden and a 2K every year. Make that how? To me, I should be able to buy one game. I should be able to maybe, okay, I'll pay for access to update rosters and update some things. There's no reason why I should be paying them $70. Is it 70 now? These games are like $70 every year for a new Madden or to play 2K. It just ain't no way. They not getting the town. Okay, come on, Natalie. All that tomfoolery.
Now, I am a diehard Madden person, so I not only do I buy the $69 version, I buy the $100 deluxe version. So yeah, but that's how they get you though. It's the hook, line, and sinker. So like all us people that watched Apollo, they got the Sandman come out and yank you. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Oh man, look, yank him. Sandman got him.
Sandman got him. Sandman got him.
Oh my
God. Back. We got you. You back. You came back.
Yeah. So as I said, they Sandman me. So Sandman $100 later, boom, there goes over. So
yeah.
So yeah, it's all about the money. All about the $1 bill, y'all. So,
that's right. Forspoken. Thank you, Azia. Forspoken. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's some good comments in the chat happening. They got some stuff in there.
Dr. Gray, can you talk a little bit about the work that you're doing in the local community with games and the culture? And I guess the preface to that, I had read somewhere that you were MLK scholar at MIT. If you could start there and then move into Kentucky and talk about how that's evolved.
We should have started there, but my bad.
Really should have.
Absolutely. So what I like
the second episode.
Come on now. So 2015, I was invited to come be a Martin Luther King scholar at MIT. So basically, this was one of the programs that they created. Basically, it was one of those early diversity programs that they, to bring more Black and brown like scholars, to MIT. And so the year I was there, 2015, the year before, Ta-Nehisi Coates, he was an MLK scholar right before me. And then the year after me, it was Anita Hill, like the Anita Hill, she was a scholar. And I think right now, Lupe Fiasco is like one of the MLK like scholars. So I'm like, I want to make sure that people know it's like a big deal. And like to be invited, to be, a Martin Luther King scholar at MIT, I think there was just like a lot of like dopeness. So I don't take it lightly. So thank you for bringing that up. But it really allowed me, like a year to just invest in like you said, like a lot of the community work that I was doing, to kind of build the, get the building blocks going, like to make the connections with those amazing scholars there. And I think that was the moment that kind of propelled my platform. It got bigger because everybody was like, wait a minute. Who is this person at MIT? I guess she's important. Maybe she's kind of a big deal. I was like, well, I am now, so.
Allow you to reintroduce yourself, right?
Yeah. My name is Dr. GR to the AY.
No, that's right. And so I think it's kind of been, so after that, then I went to, I was in Chicago for a while, and then, I came down to Kentucky, for like a little bit. So, but basically the work that I've been doing has been, very much like invested in communities and engaging young folks, engaging, minoritized and, vulnerable populations. A phrase that I'm using now is like geographically isolated communities, communities that are traditionally left out of conversation. So, maybe like a few years ago, we would have called like people who were impacted by like the digital divide, right? But I never really liked using that kind of language because what I like to do is just highlight the dopeness that's there. People are expecting, Black and brown communities, poor communities to, be left out, waiting for somebody to come and save them. Like, that's just not the case at all. We are building these beautiful communities, these beautiful networks, and like engaging, like in some really like dope ways. So and with all my work, I just want to highlight the dopeness that's already there. One of the cool things that I've been doing since I've been at Kentucky is like running like these camps for like young folks. So I like connecting with young people. I don't really do research on children. That's not where my research is. But I like to. I feel like that I have to give back. I want to give back. So part of like my community service, to make sure that those young folks get introduced to like dope people like Marcus. Make sure that they see people that look like us in the room. That like to know like we're here, we're out there. To know like the pathways. To know that there's no one pathway like to get to any of these places. Like, as I was a kid, I wasn't good at math or science, but listen, write the hell out of a story, and so I want folks to know, like, hey, we just got to figure out what your skill set is, what are you good at, and don't let the world tell you that you can't be nothing just because you can't do this. Or if you need help, I also want to make sure that I bring like the resources to them. So if they need mentoring and tutoring, I want to make sure that like I do that, like to give back and to leverage a lot of the resources from these institutions. I'm like, hey, y'all got a lot of money, we're gonna give these to the community and stuff. So that's kind of like what I've been doing in my career, these days. Thank you for asking me that.
You're welcome.
So talk about, and that's amazing. Like, what are some benefits that you have seen, or some successes you had from the process?
Yes, I missed that. I missed a little bit of that. Marcus, can you help? It's a little choppy for me. I'm not sure if that's my
internet. Can you say it again one more time, Mario?
No, I was saying, so since going through that process, what are some of the benefits or the successes that you had from going through that process?
Oh my gosh. One of the big successes that we had was I had a grandmother come up to me at the end of the camp last year, and she said, thank you for doing this for these kids. Most people ignore them. Most people aren't paying any attention to them. Most people basically think that they're like disposable and think that they're like worthless because of the neighborhoods that they're in, because of their, they don't make great grades. A lot of the kids, had, these basically are kids who are being prepped and primed for the school to prison pipeline, right? Here I am, I'm going in and I want to know what they're interested in. They are the experts. I want to know, hey, you're into gaming? Thank you, honey. Like, you're into gaming? Tell me about what you're doing in 2K. Tell me about what you're doing in Fortnite. And then they're looking at me like, wait, you actually care about this? I'm like, you damn right I care. Like, and so I think that brings me so much satisfaction. But I also get sad because I'm like, what are we doing out here? If we're not investing in these young folks and reinvesting in them and making, because the world, especially for Black and brown kids, we get told all the time, like, we get in trouble one time and then that's it. That's over for us. Like we tell, some the kids who got caught up in like the system, we're thinking like, that's it. I'm like, nah, no. Like, especially when I learned that other people get multiple chances. And I'm like, you know what? I want these kids to know that at least in my space, you're going to have a multitude of chances. Like, you're going to be able to mess up. We're going to be right here. We're going to catch you. We're going to lift you right back up until you get it, until you learn it. Go ahead and be a knucklehead. We're going to be right here and can catch you when you fall. I don't think our kids get like enough of that grace, right? And I just want to make sure that we aren't replicating patterns of like anti-Blackness in our own communities. If we aren't like engaging in these class-based contexts where like certain kids and certain people from certain neighborhoods don't deserve like grace and our time and our investment. I'm like, nah, that not on my watch. Not on my watch. Yeah.
Now that's dope. Now that's all. I know, right? Yeah. Nah, that's dope. So, from an education standpoint, so if you had your crystal ball and saw yourself from a gaming standpoint, and education standpoint, what do you see yourself in 5 years, and what do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. 5 years. 5 years. Okay. I see myself as full professor. First, I do have the career milestones that I want to reach. I would like to be full professor, right? I would like to be at my dream institution. So if anybody from Kentucky's watching, I'm so sorry. Like, I love you, but listen, I might not be here forever. My dream institution is USC, University of Southern California. I've always wanted to be in their Department of Communication. Annenberg, let me put some respect on that. Annenberg School of Communication. I would also like to have more. I don't want a job in the industry, but I would really like to have more involved consultant roles, because I feel like that there's a lot that I could offer and I could say for folks who are like in the industry. But industry terrifies me. Shout outs to people who are making that work. It's so scary and precarious, and especially when I see, like this conservative turn of, you know, and when I see who are the people who are getting fired and laid off and the people who are being forced out and people who are quitting. I remember there was a time, I'm not sure if you all remember, but on LinkedIn, I feel like every other week there was this, you know, like, you know, Black women who were leaving like corporate America. And, you know, they were, you know, posting like their resignation letters and saying why and what was happening to them. Like that broke my heart. Right. Now, I know none of these institutions are going to love us back. I'm not trying to get into it, you know, because I want them to, I don't need that, right? We got each other. We take care of each other. We don't need that from the industry, right? But I guess there is some level that I need them to like acknowledge our dopeness and stop extracting everything from us and then throwing us away, you know? And I know that's wishful thinking because I know institutions might not have the capacity for that, right? But I also want to make sure that we reserve our dopeness also for one another and not just give these institutions every bit of us, because there's dope things that we can create on our own that we should just keep for ourselves too.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I think the consultant work is so important. So we saw a lot of companies from a marketing standpoint, from an advertising standpoint, you know, kind of push that they're here. They see us after George Floyd, and we just saw so much quote unquote money being invested inside their own company for DEI and those same jobs now.
Did I lose him? I think I lost them.
In the company saying, "Hey, my boss, I think that's a bad idea, but I can't say it because I don't want to get fired." But if we had a consultant that, you know, I work with you, not for you, to kind of have those conversations, I think a lot of our initiatives as a community will be pushed more. So definitely, as you sip your tea.
It's just water.
Okay.
I put it in a fancy cup to make it seem like I'm drinking something for real.
Yeah, but no. I think if we have more people of your skill set, your experience in those consulting roles, like I said, actually work for the company, but work with the company, I think some of our initiatives as a community, I think they will be to the forefront.
Absolutely. Well, let me go ahead and say this because I feel like we're also winding down. If anybody wants to hire me to do things, you can. I'll just let you know. You can hire me.
Shameless plug. Here we go. Actually, and we want to make sure that you get that opportunity. We are so grateful for you joining us for this hour, and everyone else who's invested their time to join us as well. Thank you all for joining us. But Dr. Gray, for sure, you have the floor to do shameless plugs, right? Like no shame in your game. Just let everybody know how they can support you, what you got coming up, like you know, how they can tap in, like whatever our network and opportunities are, we want to make available to you, and including this platform.
Absolutely. Love that.
So that was a very, I guess, less subtle way of saying, how would you like for people?
My bad. I'm so sorry. I was reading comments. I'm so sorry. My bad. I'm sorry. I see there was a lot that came through that I had missed. I just want to make sure to acknowledge all the
It's okay.
My bad. Okay. How can people connect with me? Social media. I'm still on Twitter, whatever it's called. I'm not leaving. I'm gonna have to be evicted. Y'all know why I'm not leaving Twitter? Because we made Twitter what it is. I'm sorry. And they're gonna have to evict me. So you can find me on Twitter still if anybody's still in that space. I'm also on LinkedIn. You know, I know Marcus hyped it. Listen, Marcus, you know I wasn't fooling with LinkedIn. And he was like, Kishana, you need to. Like, it's where it's at. I'm like, so I'm working on getting better at LinkedIn. But you can reach me on LinkedIn. And of course, I think Marcus, you know, Mario, these are a lot of your folks in this space. So they know where to find me. So, you know, they can get us in contact with one another. And also you can just email me. My email is public. You know, I'm at a public institution. My email is public. It's unicorn@uky.edu. Yeah, I'm doing the most.
Professor Unicorn. That's awesome. That's awesome. Now we're so happy. But before we go though, I know I talked about a few stocks, but we always like to ask before we close. So like, what's your favorite company, or what's your
Same man got him. Same man got him. Hey,
I don't know. This all day.
I have one. As we just to make it relevant for this conversation, I would like for you to pull up FaZe Clan, because you talked about trends, and we talked about appropriating culture, and we're talking about gaming. And Kashana knows very well my thoughts and opinions, and everyone else on LinkedIn knows how my thoughts and opinions about FaZe Clan. I think that those of you who haven't been following it need to see what the stock has been doing since 12 months ago when they became the first $1 billion esports organization by going public on the stock market.
Are you sure? Okay, well, let's put now. I hope it makes now. Let's see here. So FaZe Clan. Not so good, my friend. Not so good. So when public, make this a little bit bigger. Y'all see my screen?
We can.
Oh.
I'm frozen again?
No. I hear you.
Okay.
You can see your screen.
All right, yes. All right.
Now we can see you again.
How the mighty have fallen.
Look at that. Look at this run up, y'all. Hold on. Let's get our yellow line. Look at that. I mean, so it came out basically April 2019. It was popped up, and then look at that jump. Oof. That jump was as we sorry, hold on, y'all. That jump was 158%. What a jump. 200%. So it had a huge jump. But something happened, Marcus. What happened? Because we hear September 2022, somebody said somebody upset the investors because it went down. So let's get out of this. How far it went down? So in the past 12 months, down, man. Down.
It was smoke and mirrors.
Look at that.
It was smoke and mirrors.
From its top.
So 2019, there was a SPAC called B. Riley Corporation that was launched, and SPACs are designed to basically merge with other companies and take them public. If you don't want to go through the formal, and I'm no financial analyst or anything, Mario can speak to this probably better than I can. But the long story short is it was a SPAC that acquired FaZe Clan because this was, again, in the hype period 3 or 4 years ago where esports is going to be bigger than the Super Bowl and had more viewership than, given tournament was better, more viewed than the Grammys, etc. But the business fundamentals weren't there. And so even like Forbes had given them a valuation of $400 million. And those of us who were critical of the space, lovingly critical of space, said that valuation was inflated, right? Was ballooned, that we were in a bubble. FaZe Clan, in their infinite wisdom, decided that they wanted to go public 2.5 times the amount of money that the inflated market value was applied to them in the Forbes assessment. And then when you go public, you're required by law to publish all of your operating, activities, right?
I wasn't Forbes magazine 2 weeks ago, y'all. So I digress. Little shake plug about myself. Oh, your boy was in Forbes 2 weeks ago, y'all.
He was. Shout out to Mario, man, featured in Forbes.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
So long story short is that, people got to see, beyond the smoke and the mirrors, and the company was running on hype, and hype only runs so long, and it only runs best if you're not on a publicly traded stock exchange.
97%. I mean, I'll just one more time. I just want y'all just to see this. 97%.
So they're actually right now at risk of being delisted from the stock exchange because they're not in compliance. Your shares have to be trading at least at $1 for 30 consecutive days. Right now they have approval to do either a 20-for-1 or a 30-for-1 stock split, and they're also in active conversations with other publicly traded esports organizations of being acquired, because otherwise they're going to be delisted.
Oh my gosh,
man!
Wow,
that's what not PAYNE. That's what PAIN. Pain looks like being by 90. Could you imagine investing money in that, right? A significant amount. Oh Lord, man. So Kevin shots you said Snoop pulled fast. Snoop was putting it up.
Snoop was on the board. Snoop was on the board, and Snoop then got off the board.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
And he is generous with his brand, right?
Yeah.
But he said, "No, I can't be part of this."
Oh my gosh! They need to get some of that Cheech and Chong advertising. Cheech and Chong on Twitter. Listen, they doing the most. Oh, can we look? What's Cheech and Chong? And if I don't know, we might not have any time to look at any more stocks, but it will be.
Are they publicly traded?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Cheech and Chong stock. Hold on.
It's whatever they got their cannabis or whatever they got their gummies.
Something.
Yeah.
I see them on Twitter a lot, though. You're right.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Like
And all their money, they're going all in on Twitter.
I want to know their
They
marketing
are.
budget. Their Twitter alone. I would love to know the marketing budget. Yeah. Are they?
They are they are publicly are HPCO. Okay, so Hempco Comp, I'm pulling up a vertically integrated hemp manufacturing company commenced sales of Cheech and Chong branded hemp smokable products. All right, HPCO. All right, let's see here, y'all. HPCO, Hempco.
Can you share your screen, Mario, and then I'll put it up on the big screen.
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Another one bite dust. Dun, dun. Look at that.
Oh.
They might cut that Twitter marketing budget just a little bit.
Yeah. It opened at $5 a share in August, went up to $38 a share, and now it's at 0.38, not even a dollar. So so Cheech and Chong, hopefully it was not getting high on their own supply.
Stock has gone up in smoke.
Yeah.
on their own supply.
Yeah, they're down by 99%. So yeah, they're in some trouble.
I see one more. Can we look at Activision before we head out? Kevin brought up Activision.
Yeah, Activision Blizzard. Oh, Blizzard.
Yeah.
Now on a different end, they are rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
I was back to where they were, right? So they had a huge drop. And this happens, right? I mean, the market went down, right? So they went down by 45%. So and that was kind of early. So last year 2022, it was the second worst year of the market. Right? 2008 was the worst. Last year, Nasdaq rise because it was almost 40%. 2000 was down by 50%. So bad. So that happens. But as we can see, it went down by 45%. But today is not back to what it was. However, though, they are up by 60%. And another 20% back to what they were. So I imagine as more positive news comes out about the merger, I think they're probably going to shoot up. Don't be surprised if Activision, close the merger, what they're going to keep. But if Activision stays their own stock, don't be surprised in about 4 years they go from 106 to probably about 150. Because we have 60%, not yeah. So they'll probably be close to 150, and 150 is 160% return. So stock market averages 10% a year. In 5 years, you'll triple that. So Activision's a pretty good investment. Talk to a certified financial planner like me, because risk involved. However, though, if Activision stays the course, though, they'll probably do 3x the market in the next 5 years.
Interesting. Wow. Appreciate that, Mario.
Yeah.
If I ever do something, I'll be sure to talk to you first. Spend my money. Invest my money.
Yeah. I know one thing. We're buying Charles.
That's awesome. This was awesome. This is great.
Thank you so much for your time. Before we go to we every week we acknowledge and again thank all of our community for supporting us, and we select someone who's been active in the chat and award them a digital copy of Mario's book and my book. So we would like to do that now. If
I want to send you mine as well.
Please, that would be amazing.
Get with me, Marcus, so that way we can get them a copy. Yeah.
Okay. So, Dr. Gray, if you would do the honors, please select someone from the chat.
Oh my gosh! Really, y'all gonna make me do this? Oh my gosh! So I'm gonna have to. It's for me. It's like a tie between like maybe Natalie and Aziza, maybe because it's tough. Can we do both?
Let's do that. Let's do that. Is that
Okay.
all right with you, Mario? Can we do that?
Of course, of course.
Excellent.
Okay. Why y'all put me on the spot like that?
It's all good. Congratulations, Natalie and Aziza. We appreciate you showing up and supporting us. We will get with you after the episode and definitely get your digital copies of the book to you. And thanks again, everyone, for supporting us now for the 5th episode, continuing to come to learn and get educated about financial literacy, celebrate gamer culture. And with that, Mario, let everyone know where they can support you.
Yeah. Well, like Ching Chong got 5 on it. Anyways, but definitely, y'all can be up. Our website is Thomas Financial, TOAMS Financial. We have the link scrolling for you guys. I'm on social media, on Instagram, Painful Profit, PYEFL Profits. When you make money, it's painful. We make money, it's still profit. Or you can find me at Thomas Financial. Literally, just Google Thomas Financial. All my socials, my LinkedIn, it's all there. I'm on Threads too. So I'm one of the 100 million users in 5 days that Elon Musk don't like, but I'm on Threads as well. So yeah.
Dope. Well, we'll see you all next week. Let us know if you have any questions. Again, you're welcome to chat in the comments. We'll see those, and we appreciate your support. Have a good evening.